Okay, we're recording. This is going to be kind of weird. It means I can't. I forgot I'm on the screen. I forgot that I'm on the screen too. It means I can't use the whiteboard, so I'll have to use the Zoom whiteboard. So get ready for that funness. Make sure I have the right thing up before I share screen. There it is. Share screen. Here we go. What? Oh, good. Now it's gone. Okay. So this is where we left off. We were talking about the vocal tract. Remember, all of speech starts where? No, your vocal folds can do nothing on their own. Yes, your lungs, air, your pulmonary system. No air equals no sounds, and that air must also be moving. Typically, it's moving out, but in a very small number of languages, they have what we call implosives, which means the air can be moving in. I suppose you could also talk by having air move in, but you sound like this. Sorry, I think I shouldn't have tried that. Yeah, so yeah, you could talk the other way, but it's weird. Okay, so just a quick reminder: your glottis, that is the area of your vocal folds. The glottis is the opening, which I'll show you. How about now? I'll show you now. Let me stop the share real quick. I gotta open my playlist. Um, yeah, so just to not have dead time, remember a glottal stop is in the middle of words like Manhattan, or butter. No, who says it? Kitten, button, kitten. That's a glottal stop. That is your vocal folds doing this. All right, where's my playlist? For some languages, a glottal stop is you can think of it as a letter. It's a phoneme. Um, and that's actually, it's not true in English. It's a sound that we use, but it's not a phoneme. And I'll explain to you the difference. I believe so. I will check. I am, yes. This is Jalen's fault. Sorry, Sam. Okay, let me find my, see, I have too many playlists for classes, most of it which are full of videos that I don't actually use. And so then I end up doing this where I vocal folds. Okay, actually, I want to show you the Mel Blanc video first. I'll link this on the Moodle so you can watch it again if you want to. But here we go. Do you all know who Mel Blanc is? Probably not. Y'all are babies. Mel Blanc was the original voice of Bugs Bunny. You know who Bugs Bunny is? Yeah. Oh, okay, phew. All right, good, yeah. Bugs Bunny. Are you feeling better, by the way? Good. I'm so glad. Good to see you again. Cartoon character. No? Oh my goodness. Okay, Bugs Bunny is this. This is Bugs Bunny. Oh, sorry, I realize I'm not screen sharing. So, Sam, I think you know who Bugs Bunny is, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay, let's so Mel Blanc, he's not only the voice of Bugs Bunny, he did a lot of voices. They call him like the man of 1,000 voices. Elmer Fudd, Porky Pig, Yosemite Sam. And so this is a video shot down his throat. And what you'll see is his vocal folds. And I like them because it kind of shows the range that the vocal folds the type of things that they can do. Okay, so here we go. Here's my screen share, and here's my video. And hopefully we have sound. I'll turn off one of these lights.
This lives next door to Flintstone. That's what he talks, yeah. Let's see now. Oh, we're gonna be you Yosemite Sam. Yes. Yosemite Sam. Is it all real time?
You can see like sometimes it's open, sometimes it's closed, sometimes it's tight, sometimes it's loose. This one is racist.
Sylvester. Oh, flowers, look at that. That's all my normal voice. And 2 years. Oh, I don't put it that. I did put it that.
When it's higher pitched, you can see it's a lot tighter.
Pig. Talks with a grunt. Not that okay?
Okay, well, there it is. Just so you'll kind of see what it is they're doing during normal speech, or when they're vibrating, when you're producing phonemes that are voiced. Um, this is the video that'll haunt your dreams. Uh, I think this is not actually the one. Okay, that's not the one. But it is weird. Oh, maybe it got taken down. Maybe that's why I couldn't find it. But that's okay. Pretty disgusting. Yeah. When the folds are closed, we call that adducted, and when they are open, we call that abducted. Ad versus ab. Yeah, Justine is not feeling this. This isn't as bad as the one I usually play. I'll just tell you that much. But again, I think it must have been taken down. All right, so there you are, your vocal folds. Let me get back to the regular slideshow. I'm out of Zoom practice. Although Sam's used to me on Zoom because that's when I had her last. Okay, anyway, here it is. We're back to the vocal tract. So yes, your vocal folds provide the vibration for when we make sounds that are voiced. Remember that like much of our phonemic inventory in English is a pairs of voiced and unvoiced sounds, like p and b and v and f. And I'll give you some examples of that as well. Anyway, okay, I'm talking too much. Let's get on with this. So we come past the pharynx. The pharynx is the resonator for sounds that are not nasal. Otherwise, your nasal cavity is the resonator for sounds that are nasal. What's the difference between nasal and non-nasal sounds? Well, it's the difference between sounds like duh, which comes out of your mouth, and which comes out of your nose, or something like that. Past the pharynx, we have the tongue, the MVP of voice production, or sorry, of phoneme production. Depending on the part of your tongue and the direction that part is pointing, that to a large degree shapes the air, shapes the sound that's already coming through your throat, and produces the sounds of human speech. Anyway, we talked about this already. That's how speech is produced. Now I kind of want to get you to the IPA, which is where we're going to be spending the majority, the rest of our time today. So I actually said today we're talking about phonetics, And so phonetics and phonology are a little bit different. I think I explained it last time, but just real briefly, phonetics is studying the production of sounds in a human language. And phonology is the study of the system of sounds in a language. And so we'll get into phonology on Thursday, but today I want to stay in the realm of phonetics. But it's not that big of a difference for for our purposes today, I suppose. So why do we have the IPA? And when I say IPA, I don't mean India Pale Ale. I mean, of course, the International Phonetic Alphabet. And the reason why we use the IPA is because our alphabet sucks. Well, it sucks at one thing in particular. It sucks at having one symbol represent one sound. And in English, we don't do that. And in Chinese, you don't do that either. In fact, it's terrible. The Chinese orthography is horrendous. English orthography is horrendous in terms of representing sound in a way that's unambiguous. It's why, oh, I think I've got, yeah, here you go. The tough coughs as he plows the dough. Right. Wait, do I have that? Oh, there it is. Get a brain, morons. So, yeah, old memes, my bread and butter, I suppose. Anyway, so yeah, we see OUGH in 1, 2, 3, 4 of these words, and it's pronounced differently in each of these words. Tough, coughs, plows, dough. Aw, ow, oh. Terrible orthography. And in case you're not sure what orthography means, here's the definition: the way a language's speech sounds are represented in writing. In other words, spelling. Well, you don't have to worry about that because IPA is very easy to spell in. Why? Because one sound equals, we don't need to talk about this. One sound equals one letter, sorry. Yes, not this IPA, but this IPA. So remember the English has 26 letters, but 43, I would say 44 sounds. Given that the letter A sounds different in different words, hat, made, a, usually, sometimes letters aren't even pronounced at all. The same sound can be represented by multiple letters. Yeah, English spelling doesn't work. So we need a standardized system. And beyond that, we need a system that allows us to describe the sounds of any language, not just English. And that's what the International Phonetic Alphabet was trying to accomplish. So if we compare English spelling versus IPA spelling for hat, in hat we use A, A. But in the IPA, we use 3 different phonemes or glyphs or letters or whatever you want to call them. Well, we call them phonemes or segmentals. So this is the sound ah. I mean, really what we call it is ash, but you don't need to know the name. You just need to know what the symbol looks like, how to write it, and what it sounds like. So this is the sound ah. This is the diphthong a, and this is a schwa, which makes the sound So in English, 3 different sounds, 1 letter. In IPA, 3 different sounds, 3 different letters, 3 different segmentals, 3 different phonemes. Anyway, so here it is. In the IPA, sounds do not change. This is always pronounced and no matter what language we're talking about, no matter what word we're talking about. And therefore, theoretically, it should be able to be used to write the sounds of any language you want. Now look, there's a caveat, and that caveat is the difference between phonetics and phonology. Have you ever noticed? Surely you've noticed. I mean, you'd be crazy not to notice. someone who grew up speaking a different language tends to have an accent when they speak English. Or someone that grew up speaking English has an accent when they speak Chinese, right? Or Spanish or Yiddish. Doesn't matter, right? Why is that? Why is that?
I was gonna say confidence issues or not
No,
really.
it's not. Yeah. No. Lisa, do you have an accent in English? Of course you do. Everybody has an accent. Yes. Okay. Why don't you speak the same way I do? Yes. Why is your accent different than mine? It's because the phonemic inventory that you are most comfortable with is different than mine. And so what you're doing when you speak English and what I do when I speak Chinese, even though I try not to, even though maybe you try not to, I don't know, um, is you take your phonemic inventory, you take your alphabet of sounds from your native language, and that's your starting point for speaking any other language. Now you adjust, of course, right? Like you can say the, even though the is not a sound in Chinese, right? Like we adjust, but we can, for most people, you can never quite shake the influence of your original phonemic alphabet, your original phonemic inventory, the phonemic inventory of your native language. And that's why it is unreasonable to expect anybody learning any language to become native. It's a stupid goal. You'll never get there. Well, probably you'll never get there. Maybe you are the genius that can do it. I've met a few people in my life, but just a very few. Unrealistic. Anyway, let's get to this table. I gave you all a table. I gave you two sheets. The one I'm talking about today is this one. There it is. Yes. This one. Can- oh, you forgot? Oh, no, that's okay. I'll give you another one. Oh, too bad. Say sorry. No, I'm just kidding. So this is the whole thing, and then this is just English. You must know this. Uh, you don't have to know everything on here, but you should understand what you're looking at. Oh no, mine today. Okay, so yeah, in case I probably didn't get that in the microphone. If the smaller sheet, the one with the shading on it, that is the English phonemic inventory. Yeah. It says church and judge on it.
Thing I'm looking at right now.
And then the other chart, that's the one we're looking at that says the International Phonetic Alphabet revised to 2015. Um, that is what we're looking at right now. So what we see here is we see like there is a division between, let me get my little laser, it's easier to see. Between pulmonic and non-pulmonic consonants. What does pulmonic mean? It's related to the lungs. So these are all the sounds that are created starting from the lungs. Non-pulmonic consonants, these are all sounds that, I believe they all start in the mouth. And you don't need to know these because they're, well, okay, for my class, you don't need to know these. If it interests you, learn about them. They're fascinating. Because they're sounds that are used in languages like, for example, Nelson Mandela's native language of Xhosa. and which has clicks. So we have a bilabial click, we have a dental click, we have a postalveolar click, and so on and so forth. Then we have implosives. I can't really do, I'm sorry. Something like that. Anyway, and ejectives, right? Wait, yeah. Anyway, look them up on the internet. You'll find videos of people doing them much better than I ever could. I know very little about the non-pulmonic consonants. I think they're very interesting, but it's just not my specialty. Um, then what we see right here down below, this is what we call the vowel trapezoid. The vowel trapezoid. And when we see the vowel trapezoid, well, okay, actually, we'll get to this a little bit later. It looks a lot more complicated than it actually is. This is actually a mouth. Think of someone with like a weak chin, you know, like a chin that's kind of pulled back. This is the top lip. This is the bottom lip. Think of this as your mouth, because that's literally what this trapezoid is trying to show. But for now, let's look at the pulmonic consonants, and here they are. Well, that's not it. I always think that I know the my slideshow better than I actually do. Whatever. I guess I'll just use this small thing. On the left-hand side, all of these you can't see on my slide, but you can see on your paper where it says plosive, nasal, trill, tap, fricative, etc. These are manners of articulation. Manners of articulation. And these along the top, these are places of articulation. So remember, in order to describe the sound of any language, you need to know two things. Number one, how it is produced. And number two, where it is produced. That's it. So all of these difficult words, like dental, very difficult. I know, my jokes are bad. These are all places. And words like nasal, trill, plosive, these are all types of sounds, manners of producing sound. So let's kind of jump in on these. Now again, I really, for this class, for a grade, I hate making people do things for grades, but here you go. You need to learn the symbols used to write English. I would also like you to know the symbols that describe your native language if you have one, and it's not English. But I know you all have second languages, so I think you should know how to describe the sounds of your second or first language. That's not English. But for English, this is pretty easy. If you know how to speak English, which you all do, you wouldn't be here if you didn't. The vast majority of the sounds in the IPA chart look exactly the same and sound almost exactly the same as they do in English. B, D, F, G, H, K, L, M, N, P, S, T, V, W, Z. Yeah. Okay, congratulations. Now you know this many phonemes in IPA. So there are some English letters that look the same but sound different. Like this is the sound k. This is the sound yeah. This is q, which we don't use in English. This is which we don't use in English, and this is e, which we don't use in English. In fact, English only uses the sound yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a glide. Like if I say yeah, yeah, that's the sound J at the very beginning. And then there's also some new quote unquote letters. So we have the sound sh, th, j, th, r, and yeah. It's hard for me to make a glottal stop without starting with a vowel, but there it is. Anyway, but we'll go through each of these and we'll talk about them in terms of manner and place of articulation. By the way, does this look familiar? Remember, this is one of the sounds that we had in Old English, and it was the letter called thorn, and it makes a hard th sound sometimes, as in the word this. So the IPA tends to recycle characters. Now look. Before we start this, I want you to understand that the IPA is an abstraction. It's not a religion. Now, it sucks because I just got through telling you that thing that I showed you with the A and the E smushed together, it always sounds like ah. Except no, it doesn't. Yeah. But I'll explain that on Thursday. Just for now, oh yeah, here it is right here. Yeah, apple. The problem is there's not, I mean, the problem is exactly what I said before. Remember, I bring my phonemic inventory to your language, and that's why I sound funny to you, and vice versa. Not funny, but different. Um, that's because there's not a one-to-one correspondence of the sounds in our language. But again, we'll talk about that later. So for example, in the word people versus the word apple, P sounds different, right? Apple, people. But it's weird because for me, I only think of that's a P sound, that's a P sound, but it's not. One of them is not the P sound. One of them is a B sound, right? What's the difference? The difference is this. Put your hand in front of your mouth. People. What do you feel? People. Puff of air. Yes. Now say apple. You feel a puff? Maybe, but it's much smaller, yes? Yeah. Two different sounds. One is aspirated, one is not aspirated. We'll talk about that on Thursday. Don't worry about it for now. I just want you to understand that it's not a religion. Here they are, the English consonants in the IPA. Have you all heard the word consonant before? If not, the word consonant means a sound that is not a vowel. Any sound that's not a vowel is a consonant. So you remember last time we talked about basic phonotactics in English? I better review this. Just do it really quick. Wait, where do I find my whiteboard now? They changed everything.
Right there with the pen.
Oh, fine. I just have to. Fine. I'll just give myself. I'll just. Oh, it's on the more. Haha! It's not there. You thought I was so dumb. Yeah, I could do that. But here, let me make the screen black so that you can see it easier. Okay. Okay, so remember, English phonotactics look something like this. English words are made up of syllables. Yes, sounds, but bigger than sounds is syllables. And remember, we don't use the word sounds, we use the word phonemes, which basically means sounds.
Sounds pretty spicy.
Sorry. Okay, oh shoot, where'd it go? Oh, draw, here it is. So syllables are composed, often in linguistics, we use the character sigma in Greek. Sigma, it looks like an O with the tail on top to refer to a syllable. And every syllable is made up of at least two things. Well, no, sorry, at least one thing. That's not very helpful. We have an onset. Yeah. And we have a rhyme.
The vowel and then the coda.
Yes, a rhyme. So an onset is optional. And in a rhyme, you have a vowel. I'm just going to put a V. And you have a coda, which is like an ending. So if I have a syllable like Okay, let's say like the word garden, garden, 2 syllables, garden, clap test, right? Okay, so my syllable is gar. I'm going to use that. If I'm splitting that up, G is the onset. It's like the sound that comes before the vowel. My rhyme is R, because it rhymes with things like R, gar, car, bar, dar, far, whatever. And that rhyme is made up of a vowel, which is ah, wait, R, ah, ah, yeah, sorry. And a coda, which is whatever sound comes after the vowel, which that is So yeah, we have our onset, we have our vowel, and we have our coda. But if I say like abiotic, abiotic, right? No, you don't like that word? Yeah, abiotic. No, abiotic means non-living. This rock is abiotic, right? Anyways, that's 2 syllables. No, 3 syllables. Abiotic. That's 4. I can count. I promise. Abiotic. Okay. Well, let me give you that syllable. That first syllable is a, right? Yes, it's a diphthong actually. What's the onset? Nothing. What's the rhyme? A. What's the vowel? A. What's the coda? Nothing. That's not a Y. That's a nothing. So the only thing that is totally necessary is the vowel. The onset and the coda are optional. Sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't. Okay. Yes. Oh yeah, sure. This is easier to what? Just the first syllable. You can only break these down syllable by syllable. Well, I mean, for now, that's all we're doing. So here's my word, abiotic. I would give you a better word, but I can't. Okay, how about aerodynamic? Abiotic. Okay, fine. The word abiotic, you can Google it and confirm that it is a word if you want. Abiotic has 4 syllables. I have a, by, tick. Abiotic. Now, why did I split it after O and not after T? Don't ask me. It's the thing that we call the onset maximalization rule. It's out of the scope of this class for now. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. Okay. I think it's interesting, but it's. Okay, fine. It's called the onset maximalization rule, which says when we split up rules, we tend to think that consonant sounds are going to fill the onset position before they fill the coda position. You can think of it as an onset in a syllable is more common than a coda, if that helps you to think of. But again, it's outside of the scope of what I want to talk about today. So I've got 4 syllables. If I'm going to break them up, here's my first syllable. My first syllable, that's my sigma, is A, and that is represented by this diphthong. Remember, a diphthong is 2 vowel sounds combined. We'll talk about it, don't worry. We'll go over vowels in great detail. Now, if I'm going to map out this syllable, I say like, okay, well, what's the onset? There is none. I drew an X before. I'm going to draw a 0 with a cross through it this time just for kicks. My rhyme is A, because that's all there is left. My vowel is A, and there is no coda either. Because remember, the onset is the consonant sound before the vowel. There is none. And my coda is the consonant sound after the vowel. There is none. Now, then I would just move on and do the next syllable. Okay, my next syllable is by. And in IPA, it looks like this. And usually we put slashes around something to say that we are phonetically transcribing it. So I've got by, okay? Well, what's my onset? B. What's my rhyme? I. Sorry, bad writer. And what's my vowel? I. What's my coda? Nothing. How about ah? Let's do that one too. We'll do the whole word. This is actually a good word because it has all different types. Well, almost all different types. Okay, ah in IPA is represented by this phoneme. It looks like a lowercase a or an alpha, kind of. What's my onset? Nothing. My vowel, ah. Oh, sorry, not my not my vowel. My rhyme is ah. My vowel is also ah, and my coda is nothing because there is no consonant sound after the ah. Now we go to tick, which will make me feel better because tick has everything I'm looking for. So I've got t, I've got I, which looks like a capital I, and I've got k, which looks like a K, not a C. English, in English, C, the letter C in English is not a phoneme in English phonemes. Yeah. Sometimes it's so hard to think about or to talk about. Okay. So my onset in tick is it's t. My rhyme is ick. My vowel is I. And my coda is k. That's it. Does it make sense? Cool. Yeah. I'm not going to do too much with phonotactics, but just remember, we talked about phonotactics on Thursday because we were talking about the fact that in any language, you have a very restricted list of phonemes that you can use, right? There are way more sounds on this than English uses, way more sounds on this than Chinese uses or Sinhala or anything like that, even though Sinhala has a heck of a lot of sounds. I looked it up this weekend. But you know what? It doesn't have as many vowels. But vowel length is contrastive, and that makes things very hard. Yes, exactly. So for example, in Sinhala, I looked it up. Sinhala, the sound duh and the sound da are different sounds. Yeah. 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 The, and ga. Da. Anyway. Okay. She's writing on the board. I cannot reproduce this. Not yet. I think one of them is the difference between aspirated and non-aspirated. Like duh versus duh. That's guh. I'm certain. Guh with your. Oh, I told you I can't do the sounds very well, but I know what it is. Guh, not guh. Guh, 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 guh. No, I'm kind of sick, but guh is made with your tongue curled back a little bit. Now, whatever. I'm not going to teach you about your own language because that would be extremely presumptuous. But from what I read, which was the Peace Corps manual to learning Sinhala, um, nobody was available. Availability is important. Yes, trustworthiness is of paramount importance. I agree. Okay, anyways. Back to this. What we see here in the IPA chart. Now I've totally forgotten why we talked about phonotactics. So there we go again. Here we go again. Down the left-hand side, we see manners of articulation, ways of making sounds. Plosives, just to give you the Reader's Digest, or sorry, the short version, plosives are sounds that have puffs of air with them. Fricatives are sounds with friction. Affricates are complicated. Nasals are sounds that are made with your nose. And those other things we'll talk about in just a second. Now, along the top here, here's my little laser guy. Along the top, these are places of articulation. So again, just to give you like the short version, bilabial means two lips. So obviously we're talking about two lips. Bilabial sounds are made with your two lips. And if you don't believe me, then make these sounds. They sound the same as English. Pa, ba. What are you doing? You're putting your lips together. And look, they're plosives, so they involve a puff of air. Ma, mm, or wa, wa. Right? Say pa without closing your two lips. Try it. Huh, huh. You can't do it. It's not possible. Not possible. Say ma without closing your lips. No, you can't do it. Not possible. Okay, anyway. Sorry, I'm getting too into the weeds with this. So if bilabial is two lips, it's starting at the very end of your vocal tract. That's as far as you can go. Then when you go to the right of the chart, it's like you're going further and further and further back. And when you get to glottal, we're talking about all the way down at your glottis at your vocal folds. So this sound is exactly like in English. Ha, ha, ha. You have air creating friction between your vocal folds. Ha. That is a glottal sound, or a glottal fricative, if you will. And so here we have everything in between. Labiodental, this involves your lips and your teeth. Again, labio means lip, and dental means teeth. Labiodental means you take your top teeth, put it on your bottom lip, and now you have fa, 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 va, 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 fa, 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 va, va, va. Don't pay attention to this. It's too confusing for now. But you can see on your big IPA chart, there's a lot of other labiodental sounds, like ma, ma, which to me just sounds like ma, ma, ma. That's because those sounds are not contrastive in English, which means replacing one sound with the other doesn't make a new word, right? Are these two different words or the same word? Dad and dad. Are those two different words or the same word? Same word, yeah. But I did two different sounds, right? Dad and dad. One had the puff of air with the D, one didn't. Anyways, same thing. Ma and ma are not contrastive in English. Anyways, please. This, it's not a diacritic. No. Now, phonetics definitely has diacritics, but this is not one of them. It's just the tail. So, for example, sometimes you will see a plus, like a plus below a letter. That plus means it's further forward than usual. Or you might see a little zero at the top here. That means unvoiced, or devoiced, I should say, devoiced. Anyway, before I make my way back in the mouth, the last thing I want to point out is in the IPA chart, when you have two letters that are together, the one on the left is voiceless or unvoiced. Those two things mean the same thing for me. Unvoiced and voiceless. I think for everybody. It depends on where you're from, whether you say unvoiced or voiceless. Same thing. And on the right, they're voiced. And that goes for the big IPA chart too. You're going to see the consonants are grouped in two sometimes. And even if they're not grouped in two, you'll see like they're either on the right or the left, usually on the right, because most sounds are voiced. And so that's where you see those like married couples, right? When you have a married couple like this, it means the only difference between these two, because look, they have the exact same manner of articulation, They have the exact same place of articulation. The only difference is voicing. Pa is voiceless and ba is voiced. They're the exact same sound otherwise. And that goes for all of these pairs. And when I figured that out, it was a massive epiphany for me. Did not realize that. Maybe you didn't either. I don't know. So ka and ga, ka, ga, ka, ga. Your mouth is doing the exact same thing. Your vocal folds are the only thing that are changing. Ta, da, sa, za, sha. Oh, sorry, this is sha, ja. Even cha and ja are the same sounds. Tha and the. Anyway. Moving on. Excuse me. Moving on. Okay, so we have lips, we have teeth and lips. Now we have only teeth. The dental sounds, or sometimes they're called interdental. Not, I guess not on the chart I gave you. My bad. It doesn't matter. Dental, now we're talking about what your tongue is doing. Now your tongue comes into play, where it didn't for the bilabial or labial dental. Dental sounds are made when your tongue is between your teeth. And so what we have here is tha and the. Tha and the. And let me just tell you, for anybody that's a future teacher of English, dental sounds are very uncommon in languages. Look at the big IPA chart I gave you. That column is almost empty. Yeah. That's all you get. Well, no, the O is yeah. So the one on the left here, this is Greek letter theta. It's soft th, as in thin, or come on, give me another th sound word. Thought. What? Thanks. 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 Unvoiced. Thanks. But this is the voiced version of that, which is that. The. Then, thank you. Whatever. They, whatever. Yeah. Good. So again, we have a married couple pair with tha and the. Oh, sorry. What I was going to tell you, I always get off track. Let's just say it's Jalen's fault. Dental sounds are very rare in languages. English has th, Arabic has th, Spanish has th. I can't really think of many other languages that do. St. Hilla does. Excellent. By the way, St. Hilla, it is an Indo-European language. Haha! But it is also an Indo-Aryan language. So we're both right. I asked her if Sinhala was an Indo-European language. She said, no, it's an Indo-Aryan language. You know what? She was right. But I was also right. My point is, if you're dealing with students that are having trouble making the TH sound in English, tell them to put their tongue between their teeth, because I guarantee they're not doing that. The. Anyway. Okay, moving on back, we have the alveolar sounds. Alveolar sounds are made where the tip of your tongue is pointed towards the bump behind your teeth in your mouth. We call this your alveolar ridge. If we go back to the diagram I've got here. Yeah. This is why I don't do animation anymore. Here it is. You can see your alveolar ridge is right behind your teeth. It's the roof of your mouth, that thing that hurts when you bite into pizza when it's too hot. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, see, y'all know what I'm talking about. No, it's not the roof of your mouth, because that's the palate.
Anyway.
Yeah, okay, fine. Yes, you might call it the roof of your mouth, but I think of the roof of my mouth as my hard palate. Doesn't matter. Blah 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 blah. Oh yeah. See, here's so many diacritics. Yeah. Okay, to be honest with you, even I can't read this, and this is my field, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to put that in front of you. To know anything about the field, you don't need to know all of that. Anyway, so the alveolar sounds are made with your tongue pointing towards or touching your alveolar ridge. So in the case of ta and da, your tongue is touching your alveolar ridge. Ta, da, ta, da. Notice where your tongue is touching. If you don't try to do these out loud, you are doing yourself a disservice. But I will not judge you. Ta, da, ta, da. Sa, za. With sa and za, your tongue is not touching, but it is very close to. With na, your tongue is touching your alveolar ridge and it's closing it off. Na, and the sound is coming out your nose. That's why they're called nasal sound. Nunca. Yes. Nasal sounds. This is the sound ra, and ra, your tongue is pointing towards your alveolar ridge. Ra. It looks like an upside down R in English. That's because right side up R is pronounced like a trill. I can't roll my R's very well. Like burrito. No. Burro. Ah, it's a big source of shame for me, to be honest. Anyway, then we have the post-alveolar sounds. The post-alveolar sounds are where not the tip of your tongue, but a little bit back is pointing towards just behind the alveolar ridge. So this is the sound sha and ja. And this is the sound cha and ja. And we'll talk about why they look different in a minute. Your palatal sounds, these are made with kind of the mid of your tongue pointing towards the roof of your mouth, behind your alveolar ridge. We have yeah, yeah. When I say yeah, yeah. Wait, is that what she says? Yeah. Yes. No. Same sound. Yeah. Yeah. Not ja, but yeah. Yeah. Well, now you can do it with a J. A J and a schwa. You should start something new for us. Yes.
Like it starts with the J thing.
I know I have a friend from Puerto Rico who always types laughing as J-A, yeah. And I always think that's funny. Yeah. Yes, I know. But in Germanic languages, J is a yeah sound. Sorry, Spanish. Your velar sounds, these are made with the back of your tongue pointing towards what we call your soft palate or your velum. Remember what I told you last time? The easy way to remember your velum or your soft palate, it's that thing that makes you gag when you are brushing your teeth and you accidentally go too far back. If you touch it with your finger, well, okay, yes, you could, yes, yes. I was gonna say, if you touch it with your finger, I'll just show it again. It feels much squishier than when you touch the roof of your mouth, your hard palate. Yes. So here's your alveolar ridge, here's your hard palate, and here's your velum or your soft palate. Yes, yes, yes. And then lastly, well, okay, we have a few more things on your IPA chart, but we won't talk about those today. Uvular, that's that dangly thing in the back of your throat. And glottal, we already talked about that one. Okay, so let's move on. Oh, you mean pharyngeal? Those are made with the back of your throat. So those are the sounds ha and ha. And those are sounds that are very common in Arabic, which is super annoying, to be honest. No, not that. But yeah. Ein. Yeah, like Andy, I have. Andy. I see, I'm just not good at it. Or Andik, you have. Or Andik Kursi, you have a chair. Anyway. Okay. So now I want to talk you through the manners of articulation. So the first one is plosive. Here it is. A good mnemonic device for what is a plosive. It's like a little explosion. The other word that you often see in linguistic textbooks for plosives is stops. We call them stops. And that is because when it comes to plosives, your mouth stops the flow of air at some point. So sometimes they're called stops. And then once the flow of air is stopped, pressure builds out and then puffs out of your mouth or puffs out of wherever the closure was. So remember, P, this is a bilabial plosive. What that means is air is obstructed at your lips. Huh, huh. Pressure builds up and you release it. Buh, puh, buh. T, right? Ta, the sound ta and da, these are alveolar plosives. Because again, your tongue blocks the flow of air between your tongue and your alveolar ridge. Pressure builds up and it pops out. Ta, da. And then ka and ga, these are velar plosives. The back of your tongue touches your velum, blocks the air, and then it pushes its way out, and we get a little puff. Ka and ga. Those are our plosives. They're all involve these little explosions of air. Um, all right, try these. Try these for a moment. What are the plosives in these words? Try just write them down if you like, or do them out loud if you want. So, for example, the word computer, I've got ka, I've got pa, and I've got ta. Those are my three plosives. In the word third, I have one plosive, and it is duh. Okay, let's do comb together. No, that's fine. That's exactly what I want you to do. Where's there a plosive in the word comb? Ka. It's this. But remember, this is not IPA. This is English. So in IPA, it is ka. You never write C to represent the sound ka. Well, technically false. But what about the B? What about the B? B is a plosive. But guess what? We don't pronounce the B. Anything that's not pronounced in IPA is not written. So if I'm going to write the whole word comb in IPA, it's going to look like this. Ka, O, I've got a diphthong. Comb. Comb. There's no B. Okay. Try these real quick. I'm going to get some water. Oh, I have some water. But it's not cold. Yeah, I'm gonna start writing some answers here, or I should say circling some answers. So don't look up until you're ready to, I guess. Ah. This is gonna get too confusing. I'm gonna restrict my answers a little bit more. Okay, just kind of pushing you along because we're short on time as always. Um, were any of these confusing to you or difficult? If they were, my guess is you might be confused by things like the word thistle. Yeah, thistle, this T is silent. Anything silent in IPA is not written. And the word edge, it's not a D sound, it's a J sound. So there's no plosive there. Well, that's technically not true, but we'll talk about it when we get to affricates. Pitch, same thing here. This is a ch sound, not a t sound. Hiccup, okay, yeah. Gyrate, this is a sometimes what we call a hard G in English, and so that is not spelled with a g in IPA. How we would write that in IPA is like this. It is an affricate. Combust, action. Again, there's no t, action. Unless you say action, nobody says that. You say action. How I would spell that? No, I'm gonna stop wasting time. Okay, anyway. Yeah, bigger. You can't circle both the G's or same thing with hiccup. Only it's only one sound because there are no double letters in IPA either. So if I were to write hiccup in IPA, it would look like this. Yeah, cup, just like that. Again, if you don't know all those yet, don't worry about it. That's what I'm trying to teach you right now. Or same thing, bigger would look like this. B, I, G, er, bigger, just like that. Let's move on to fricatives. Oops. And the word, the mnemonic device that there it is. The mnemonic device that I remember for fricatives is friction, like a match dragging along something, whatever it is, a matchbox. That's because fricatives all involve friction in air. You have air creating friction between two articulators. Now look, I guess I didn't use the word articulators before. Remember, we said to describe any sound, you need to know the way it's produced. We call that the manner of articulation. And the where, oh my goodness. Try one more time. We need to know how it's produced. We call that the manner of articulation. And we need to know where it's produced. That's called the place of articulation. The body parts that you use to produce that sound, we call those articulators. Your tongue is an articulator. Your nasal cavity is an articulator. Your lips are articulators. Your teeth, you get the point. Whoops. So when it comes to fricatives, we have two articulators and we're putting them close together and we're forcing air between them, compressing that air, making a sound. So for example, make the sound, the F sound. And sorry, I know this is blocking. There we go, good enough. So we have fa, a fa. We have va, a va. I'm saying that because that's, yeah, we have, this is tha, a tha. This is Greek letter theta, which represents soft th. This is Old English letter thorn, which makes the sound. The, a va. We have sa, a sa. Za, a za. Sha, a sha. Ja, a ja. And ha, a ha. Ha, a ha. Ha, a ha, ha, ha. Those are our fricatives. So for each of those, we have this hissy air that is coming through our mouth somewhere. Like say, you can feel the air going between your tongue and your alveolar ridge and then out your mouth. Notice all of these you could do like, yes, that's exactly it. No, that's exactly it. You could hum with these. You could sing with these, right? Like fa 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 fa. Oh no, actually you could do that with anything. Fa. Oh, anyways, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is like with plosives, you can't do that, right? Like you can't hold a b sound. You could hold a right. You can do that forever until you run out of breath. But you can't. It's not possible. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm too old for this. See this beard from people like you. Anyways, okay, we'll practice it now. Oh no, sorry. Before we get there, we have to talk about affricates. Affricates are what we call suprasegmental. Suprasegmental. That's why you often see them with. Oh, they're not even on your chart. That's frustrating. Oh, but they're on your English chart. Yeah. You often see them with like an umbrella over them. Yeah. You'll see on the IPA chart, there is an example of an affricate kind of down here. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about with the umbrella over the top. Yes, those are not affricates in English. I don't think they're affricates in any language. But what an affricate is it's a special combination of a plosive that immediately moves into a fricative. So for example, the sound cha, as in cheese, is actually a combination of the sound ta and the sound sha. And they are crammed together until they are inseparable. But because it's two sounds combined, we call that a suprasegmental. Suprasegmental. So ta sha ta sha ta sha cha 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 choo choo. No, okay. Yeah. Cha. Same thing. Da, ja, 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 da, ja. Okay, you get my point. I know. Everybody always makes fun of me in this class. Yeah, good. Yeah, it's the ja sounds. So we consider affricates to be one sound. Now, for last thing, what I want you to do, identify the fricatives and the affricates. Same words. We'll do a couple of them together. Oh my goodness. Really have to speed up this class. It's not your fault, it's my fault. I just like this stuff and it's been too long since I've gotten to talk about it. Okay, so in the word computers, you're really going to have to say these words out loud. Because reading, you may not know that this S sounds like a Z. And so therefore the Z is the fricative. Z, not the S. You don't say computer. That sounds weird. You say computers. Yeah, we'll talk about why that is. Okay, what about third? Third. What do we have? Yeah, the theta. Theta is our fricative. That's it. What about comb? That's a plosive. Same thing with bump. What about trough? Trough. Yeah, good. Good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you may not have realized, but the GH in IPA, I'd write it with an F. Yeah, that's the fricative. Good. What about thistle? Thistle. Thistle. Well, I've got that theta again, but I also, in this case, have an S. Thistle. Yeah. Edge. Yeah, ja. I've got my first affricate, and it looks like this. Just like that. We draw an umbrella over it to show that it's a suprasegmental. Okay, real quick, pitch. Good. Hiccup. Oh, they probably thought I was hissing at them. Okay, we got to get out of here, but real quick. So we'll call it to a close. All right. They get hissed at like a vampire. Yeah.
I thought this was a movie.
Stop share. Okay, we'll continue this on Thursday. I'll try to move a little bit faster and we'll get through the IPA. I want you to practice it. I've got some resources up there for you to have a look at on Moodle. I promise you they're there. I checked this afternoon.
It's for Sam.
That's for Sam. Yeah. Okay, everybody say bye, Sam.
It's like the
No. Oh yeah, I probably shouldn't have told you this for Sam.